Hello lovelies, welcome back to my channel. Today we have a special collaboration between myself and Sammy from Electric Bunny One of a Kind. We decided that it would be fun to make some Decora Kei dolls. For my concept, I didn't do any sketches or work through a character design like I do sometimes. Instead, I collected a bunch of different fashion photos and made a Pinterest board for inspiration. For my base, I will be using this second-hand Rainbow High doll. This was actually the very first Rainbow High doll I ever worked on. Sammy and I started this collaboration last year. We both needed something fun and bright and happy to work on, but life got in the way and we just kind of had to put things on hold for a while. The Rainbow High doll that I'm using is Avery Styles, I think. And she has this wig cap. I don't know, this hard molded on hair piece. To get the head cap off, I soften the head with the hairdryer. This breaks up the glue and allows you to eventually wiggle it out with the screwdriver. Took a little bit of elbow grease, but eventually I was able to pry the head cap off of the doll's head. I decided to tackle this doll a lot like I would a ball jointed doll, so I went ahead and cut the top of her head off to make a removable head cap. Then I cut out the eye wells so that I can give her some custom made inset eyes. For her eyes, I made a couple of different designs in Clip Studio Paint, and I have these 14mm glass cabochons. They have a decent dome, and I think they work really well with the Rainbow High dolls. They are not anywhere near as flat as like a Blythe eye chip. To start with, I tested out two different colors of eyes. I ended up not using either of these, but there's a pair of green eyes where the iris goes all the way out to the edge of the eye chip, and then a pair of purple eyes where I have a little bit of the sclera showing. From here on, the rest of the custom starts to follow some of the usual patterns that you see in doll repaints. Now that her factory face-up has been removed, it's time to make her a wig. To make the wig cap, I am using an old dried out baby wipe or wet wipe and just stretching it over the head over some plastic cling wrap. Then I give it a few layers of Elmer's glue all, and once it's dry, I cut it out. I did go ahead and mark a few guidelines for myself. This wig is probably going to be one of the more complex ones I make. I want to do a sensible rainbow pattern, and I have this beautiful lineup of secondhand nylon hair. I don't really like making wefts with non-yarn fiber, but I felt that it would give me the look that I wanted for this doll. And it's a good way to use some of these pieces. A lot of them are short because I got them from another artist who left the hobby and they've already been cut. So it's just a nice way to repurpose some things. Because I am impatient, I'm using Fabri-Tac to glue on the wefts. I got this nice little mini iron for actually styling doll hair last year, and I've only used it a handful of times, probably because I tend to prefer yarn most of the time when I'm rerouting or making wigs. I want to give her little space buns. I took a pom-pom and I went ahead and I wrapped a few of the extra wefts that I had around them and glued them in place. Then I used a thread in what I hope is a relatively close color match to her hair and sewed them down to the rest of the wig so they would be nice and secure. Now that I'm relatively happy with the beginning of her wig, it's time to start on her clothing. I wanted her to have a nice, large, oversized jacket, but I don't have a lot of rainbow high patterns. So I'm just kind of eyeballing where the seam lines are in this pink fluffy jacket. It's already kind of oversized, but I'm just going to push the proportions a little bit more. I actually finished this doll a year ago, so I don't remember my exact thought process for everything, especially the patterning. So hopefully you can kind of get an idea of what I'm doing with the footage here. The actual sewing of the jacket was kind of insane, so I did that off camera. I wanted her to have a nice oversized shirt. I'm using the basics set from requiemart.com, which I think is called Rod Dolls. Now I'm gonna put a link for that in the description box below. For the fabric, I'm actually using pieces from an old pair of my daughter's leggings with Pinkie Pie on it. I just thought that it was adorable and it would suit a Decora doll really well. And here's the finished jacket. This is like some nice 90s fabric. At some point, I want to try to use these gray leggings from my daughter as well. And then I got these rainbow, I don't know, they're really stiff. Like, there's no stretch to this fabric at all. I feel like I know what it's called, but I just can't think of it right now. It frays so terribly. But I have it in a lot of different colors, so I figured I could make a nice puffy rainbow skirt for her with them. To make the skirt, I'm going to assemble the colors in a rainbow pattern, then stitch them together at the edges so they make a nice long line. Then I will fold them over and add a gathering stitch at the top. This makes a nice, like, little puffy, semi-sheer skirt. It was really, really stiff and it didn't want to fold down at all. So I tried ironing it in place with my hair straightener a little bit. I probably should have wetted it, but I've learned some new techniques since back then, and yeah. I took some embroidery thread and ran it through the middle so that I could use it as a drawstring. I turned the gray star fabric into some thigh-high socks, and I did actually use my machine for this. Her skirt was riding up terribly, so I added a crotch strap. And I put a hook and eye closure on the back of the shirt. Now we can start the face up. I had never done a rainbow high repaint at this point. I think now I've done 2 or maybe 3. I think I've done at least 3. Maybe 4 actually. I want to do some more. I had looked at a bunch of different Decora Kei models and influencers. The makeup look for my doll is really inspired by Cybergirl. She has a lot of looks where she's using a lot of green eyeshadow that fades into pink around the center, and it's really bright and happy. And I thought that it would just suit my doll nicely because there's so much green in her hair as well. For some reason, the right side of my doll's face, well, her left, did not take the pencils very well. I don't usually have this problem, although I have heard of artists having the issue a lot. I'm not sure what happened, but I had to spray more frequently because the doll's left side of the face just would not take my pencils whatsoever. It took pastels just fine, but there just wasn't enough grip for me to really do the work I wanted to with my pencils. I'm doing this face up a lot similar to how I would do a ball jointed doll's face, where you draw in the waterline and color in the tear ducts. I'm also adding a lot more eye creases and trying to bring her eyes up a little bit. I don't like how very thin the upper lid on the Rainbow High eye molds is. I like heavier eyes, so it's something I struggle with a lot with these dolls. I decided to stop fighting the eye shape, however, because I thought that it would be good to make her actually be an Asian doll and not have super heavy upper eyelids. I'm giving her eyebrows lots of different colors with a gradient between purple, pink, and blue. I figured since she has rainbow hair, why not have rainbow facial hair? Eyebrows, yes. Even though I'm on a new layer, I'm still having a little bit of difficulty with my pencils taking to the right side of the face. The doll's left again. So as you can see, the eyelashes for the lower part of the eye are just not quite as dark on one side. And it was very frustrating. I thought giving her some freckles would be cute. I'm not sure she actually has these. Maybe they're just a part of her makeup. It's funny because it's trendy to give yourself freckles now, and it was not something that people wanted a few years ago. I thought that I made the freckles a little bit too harsh, so I'm softening everything back up with a little bit of pastels. I get asked about these pastels a lot. These are not actually a makeup palette. These are artist pastels for drawing, and they are not oil-based at all. They're from Jane Davenport, and they come in various tones, cools and warms, and there's a skin tone set that I use a lot. So even though you might be tempted to yell at me or lecture me in the comments that no, you can't use those, you can. These are okay. It's not really makeup. As is kind of a staple in the Decora Kei fashion, I'm gonna give her the typical band-aid on her nose. I do think it's really cute and just adds a little bit of I'm tough cuteness to it. I sketch out a few different stickers for her face. I am going to be gluing things like some little polymer slices, but I don't have very many shapes, so a few of them are going to be drawn on her face. Normally my stars are absolutely terrible and lopsided, so I'm pretty happy with how even this one turned out. And of course, she needs a rainbow. I had a lot of trouble drawing on the eyelashes, so I'm just going to go ahead and finish painting them in with a water brush and pick up the pigment from a watercolor pencil. As an afterthought, I decided to go ahead and give her an open mouth smile. I also picked the pigment up off from a watercolor pencil with my water brush and add a few shines to the stickers while I'm at it. I'm getting kind of Lisa Frank vibes with the color palette that I chose for her eyeshadow, and I am living for it. Since she has inset eyes, or she will, I'm also going to give her 3D eyelashes. Using a toothpick, I dab some Fabri-Tac glue along the inside of the eye. Then I use my tweezers and apply the 3D lash. In the end, I use the rainbow eye chips that I made. I figured that she's probably just wearing rainbow contacts or something to go along with the rest of her. Then, so her lashes are not so over the top, I go ahead and I trim them in a few places. I didn't want to add a proper head cap for her, so I'm just using some blue tack to squish and hold her head cap in place instead of making magnets and doing it properly. She's gonna be staying in my collection, so that's fine. And I will be doing the same for holding her wig in place. I just smush the blue tack on top of her head and then press the wig in. It actually holds pretty nicely. So I will be using Sunny's platform sneakers for my doll. I got this purple glitter paint and it's terrible. Like, it's so transparent, it might as well just be glitter, purple glitter in glue, because I put like 6 layers on that one shoe and it still is transparent in places. So I decided that it would just be better to mix in some actual paint and then add more glitter on top of it. I've coated the shoes in Elmer's glue and I'm just dropping some white glitter on top and shaking it off. I like most of the stripes that already existed for the bottom of the platforms, but I just didn't like that purple stripe on top. And I decided to cover it with a green instead and then add some purple accents to the sneakers. Now we get to really decorate her face with a lot of little nail beads and decals, and I think they're called half beads? Nail things. While I'm at it, I decided to go ahead and gloss her lips and her waterline, the bandage, and some of the stickers that I had drawn on. There's just not enough on her face yet, so we're gonna keep sticking things on there. I do really like how some of the chunky glitter reflects in the light. It's very pretty. I have some really cute rainbow mini buttons in different shapes, like triangles, squares, hearts, and I figured that it would be nice to add a rainbow going up the side of her jacket. Ta-da! This is actually probably my favorite part of the doll, the buttons. While I have my needle and thread out, let's go ahead and make her some necklaces and bracelets. I have some glass fogged beads, and I'm going to make her a bracelet for one hand and a necklace. I leave a loop on one end so that I can hook the beads through it and then twist them in place so that they can be removed. And then I do the same with some plastic pastel beads. These will be worn as a necklace, and I think they also end up as a belt. And I also make her a bracelet for her other hand. It's been a while, so I don't really remember everything I did for this doll. Now it's time to decorate her hair. I got these teeny tiny little doll barrettes. They're adorable. I don't get very many chances to use them though. It's too bad they don't actually have any color on them, or they'd be all over this doll. I like the idea of eye bows These eyes are from a Snapstars doll, I think, and I just glued them onto the bows with some Fabri-Tac and then glued them onto her space buns. I also have some resin charms that I'm going to be sticking all over her, a few beads in different fruit and shapes, and some polymer slices. Overall, I think she has a food theme going on. She might be like a fruit salad doll. I also have this little heart that I made forever ago out of air-dried clay. I think I just pulled too much out and I turned it into like a little heart container, like from Legend of Zelda, and I just never had anything that I needed it for. I also stick a few of the charms onto her jacket to act as like buttons or badges. And all over her skirt, because why not? A few jelly beans here or there. And some candy. I also added some pom-poms to her skirt and her shoes. Yeah, she's kind of a sweets-themed Decora doll. And with that, she's done! It's been a while since I posted a video, and I really appreciate you guys having patience with me and not running off. Hopefully I will have a new video up for Halloween, but in the meantime, enjoy something bright and summery feeling. And don't forget to go and check out Sammy's video over on her channel. I will have a link to that in the description box below as well. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!